display. And if that bothers you, well, that's too bad. But if you got pride and you're proud to
And we are on. Common Sense Radio is back. I am your host, Lana Four, and I want to welcome you to our weekly show. We will bring you the latest information and issues important to you and your family. I will tell you that today, it's a great day. First of all, I had a massage done today, or a facial, and it was the most amazing facial. So thank God that we are behind mics, so you're not seeing my face right now, because I feel so relaxed and so awesome. And I just want to give a shout out to Havens. Wendy Havens Spa is the most amazing place. So we'll get into that in a little bit. You know what? I wanted to say happy fall, ladies and gentlemen. We woke up yesterday to a blanket of snow, and I thought to myself, did we miss fall? And then I remembered, no, we're in Colorado. So it's all good. I want to welcome back Ann Vanola, editor of Common Sense News, and Kayla Califf, research extraordinaire. And so, hi, ladies. Welcome back.
Hello. Hello.
So we have a hot topic for you guys today. Lots to cover, lots to cram into 1 hour. So let's get started. Remember, our call-in phone number is 719-264-NEWS. That's 719-264-NEWS. This show is about bringing you research and facts because we understand and we know that you're busy. You're busy Americans. You're working, you're driving your kids to sporting events. I used to be that soccer and volleyball mom, so I drove my daughter everywhere. There's laundry to do and houses to clean and things to do. So we're trying to do the homework for you. Again, we want to arm you with the facts. Please feel free to trust but verify what we are about ready to tell you. This is a very important and crucial topic for the city of Colorado Springs, for the residents of Colorado Springs. And there's actually an article in this month's issue of Common Sense News on this topic. So, you know what? I'm going to start with Kanda. Kanda, will you please start with what this whole thing is about? What is this proposal of which Mayor Bach is trying to push?
Well, the name of it is called the City for Champions. The City for Champions is a proposed vision for the city of Colorado Springs that the Mayor Bach has proposed. It will be allegedly costing roughly $218 million. Only out of that $218 million, $61 million is anticipated to come from private sources. Now, what this is, it's building of 4 attractions, and it's supposed to encourage tourism. The first is the most controversial, the Downtown Stadium and Event Center. It would replace the currently privately owned SkySox Stadium, and it would move it downtown from its current location out on Powers. Now, this is controversial for obvious reasons. You're making families that would typically be the ones to attend SkySox move their location as to where they would attend from out in the suburbs where they live to going downtown, where parking is more expensive. You've got a lot more detracting
Parking
things.
is more expensive. No, parking would be impossible.
Well, I would assume they would come up with some sort of parking high-rise or garage of some sort. I don't know. I don't know how they're planning on dealing with that. And it would be off of I-25, which is not exactly a nice place to drive on, especially right now with all the construction and then the possibility of getting in an accident, whereas Powers is a little slower. It's nice to be able to take your family on Powers. I don't feel as stressed out as I would on I-25 with my kids. And definitely downtown isn't desirable for a lot of reasons. I mean, there are reasons why some of us choose not to live downtown. So it is not, they call it a downtown stadium and event center. But we need to be clear that the only customer right now that we know of is the SkySox ball.
Okay, so let me ask a quick question.
Yeah.
You just said event center.
Yes.
Okay, so what about the privately owned World Arena, which is a few blocks down the road?
That's right. They would be a public-owned event center would be competing with a privately owned event center. Why?
Again, going government is more and private sector take away from the private sector.
That's
okay.
right.
Sorry.
So that is the most controversial for good reason. I think people, why are we doing this? Why is this such a good idea? And who thought of this? The second proposed project is the U.S. Olympic Museum. It isn't even located at the U.S. Olympic Training Center. And they're alleging that by having this new visitor center, it will actually bring more tourists. I don't know about you guys, but when I go to the Olympic Training Center, I want to see the famous athletes. I don't care about a museum. They're assuming that it will actually bring in more money by having a museum.
So it's going to be an Olympic museum.
Yes.
And it's going to bring more traffic in than what we currently have.
Yes.
Why do we keep catering to the Olympic Committee?
That's a good question.
Okay,
I have no idea.
They probably got some kind of pushback from the city or given something from the city, correct?
Well, they were part of the founding group, as was UCCS, who will be doing some sort of sports center, where they are going to have a sports medicine center at UCCS, and it's supposed to bring in medical tourists. I find that hilarious.
What is a medical tourist? I was just reading an article about, it was from the City of Champions, it was the Colorado College Catalyst, and it was an article by Morgan Wack. And it was quoting college professor Bob Lovey, and he sees the proposal as the first major payoff for those looking for a strong mayor for a more dynamic city government and local economy. What do you think about that?
I'm not sure why he thinks this is making us more dynamic. I find that anybody who thinks government is going to make us more dynamic doesn't understand economics. In fact, there is a book that I would recommend to anybody to read if they want to understand economic consistent and influential faith in the world today than the faith in government spending. And that is it's become a religion that somehow government can cure all our ills. And in fact, as we've seen through multiple pieces of legislation and through different elected officials, both Republican and Democrat, government is not the solution. Oftentimes, it's the problem.
And okay, so quickly, can I go back to Sky Sox Stadium? Because we're talking about the Sky Sox and the Olympic Museum. So those are two things so far. Sky Sox is a AAA ball club. And if I want to go to a major league baseball game, I'm going to drive 50 miles up the road and go to Coors Field and go to watch the Rockies. The reason why we have a AAA club here in Colorado Springs is because this is what our town loves. We love the cheap seats. We are this good old redneck American town that wants the Sky Sox Stadium where it's at. With the fireworks and the parking. The parking is so minuscule in price. So
one of the things they were touting in this article was the Sports Authority and Coors Field as success, and they may be successful, but would a Sky Sox Stadium actually bring in enough revenue to make it worth it? I mean, do they think if they build it, everyone will just come to it? Because why? There's no reason for moving everything. And then what's going to happen to the old Sky Sox Stadium? What would that be?
It's faulty thinking. You're picking one part of town over another part of town. You're saying people who live downtown, you're more important than the people who live on Powers. You're saying that raising our taxes to create this, and I know people are saying, oh, it's not going to raise our taxes. Well, there's going to be a $40 million bond allegedly, and I would say it's probably going to be more than that to cover the costs of this construction. That is a tax on us, whether people want to recognize it as a tax or not. So that's a bond issue that will come to us for a vote. But if you tax us, you're taking away our spending authority on that money. And so that's where people need to understand what are the unintended consequences of spending our money for us. If we give the government that tax, then what happens to that money? It goes to them to direct it the way they want it directed. But But what about us? We could have spent it on building our business or growing our business or doing other things that aren't seen. And people have to start looking for the unseen.
What else? There's the Sky Sox Stadium and Event Center. There is the Olympic Museum. What else is proposed?
Okay, so and the Sports Medicine Center. The fourth thing is the U.S. Air Force Academy's Visitor Center. Now, this also will allegedly bring more tourists. I don't get it. I don't understand. How is a visitor center going to bring more tourists when most people want to go see the chapel? They want to go see the big bombers that are out there. They don't want to see a visitor center. I mean, that's a nice commodity to have, but that is not going to bring more tourism.
Okay, so the visitor center is currently at the Air Force Academy. People
Yes.
go there all the time. I know I
Right.
take every family member that ever comes to visit to the Air Force Academy Visitor Center. So they're going to put that down there as well.
Yes, a new one.
A new visitor center for the Air Force Academy downtown.
No, it will be on the academy, but it will be quite a distance from the chapel, which is where most people want to go anyway.
Yeah, there's that little complex. So, okay, that doesn't make sense to just, buy and sell more trinkets down there with their stuff. They've got plenty at their visitor center. They've already got a visitor center.
Okay, so this proposal is going to cost us what?
$18 million. Now, 82 or $81.2 million is going to be coming from state sales tax. It's a very complicated issue. So maybe when we come back, we can discuss that further. It's called the Regional Tourism Act that we're going to discuss.
Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to talk over all the things we've already covered. It's a lot to digest. So just stay tuned with us as we go into a break. And I want to kind of go over this. So we're going to replace the Sky Sox Stadium and the events for an event center and the Air Force Academy visitor center, the museum for the Olympic Training Center. This is not going to happen in my city. So we'll be back in just a few minutes.
I am woman, hear me roar, in numbers too big to ignore, and I know too much to go back and pretend, 'cause I've heard it all before.
And we are back once again. I'm your host, Lana Four, and we are talking about the City for Champions with Kanda Califf and Ann Vanola. And we're getting into a discussion about the $218 million proposal pushed by Mayor Bach. And so we're going to continue on with Kanda. So Kanda, tell me what the RTA is. What is the RTA?
Okay, well, Lana, please don't let me get into the weeds on this, as it's a very convoluted process. And even for people who are trained to understand this stuff, it's convoluted. So let me start with how the RTA board came to existence. It is the Regional Tourism Act that created this, and it's actually the Economic Development Commission that it's under. So the state legislature in 2009 passed the bill for the Regional Tourism Act, which set up an appointed board. Now, this board distributes your state tax money over the next 30 years. So it's not an upfront pot of gold that you see immediately, that this is $82 million. However, this money isn't guaranteed because there's a small caveat. If these projects don't bring in enough sales tax, we don't get any money from the state that year. So we have to cover that cost.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
It's not that. So this is bureaucratic nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the old guard, which would have you believe that this is a pot of money. That's how they're selling it. You win $82 million. No, it's not that simple. We have to prove that these projects have brought in enough sales tax for us to get it. And if we don't get that sales tax money, we have to compensate somewhere.
Folks, you know what? Nothing is free. We need to remember that when people try to sell us free things. It's free. Nothing is free. Disney, I want to just say some research that I did. Disney World Corporation, when they talk about their guests coming to their parks, they average $20 per person to be spent on food and beverage. $20. I don't know about you. I've been to Disney World every single year for the past 23 years because my daughter goes every year. And we spend way more than $20 a day. But they, in their budgets, put down $20 a day as what they figure because they're doing it the correct way. This proposal states that more people will come to this city and spend $67 a person. I mean, can you please tell me how this is working?
Expensive hot dogs.
Very expensive hot dogs.
Really expensive hot dogs.
Well, it's funny reading this RTA proposal. It is glitzy and glamorous and a hardcore sales pitch. It is all marketing, low on substance. They have really come up with some really skewed numbers. And so Mayor Bach is the one who submitted it. So we have to say, Mayor Bach, where are you coming up with these numbers? $60-some a day that we're going to, or per person, 67 per person per day.
And this you guys, I read this it's on boxoffice.com. So you can go to boxoffice.com and you can click on this beautiful proposal that is up online. It's probably cost $100,000 to put this thing together.
Actually, it was closer to $200,000 to $300,000.
Oh, sorry. $200,000 to $300,000. This thing was absolutely gorgeous.
And where did this $200,000 come from to put this proposal together?
There are some private funders, and I'm still trying to get details, but I believe we would know the names of the people who donated because the information I have heard is $75,000 from 4 different people.
Okay.
I want to do something that most Americans need to start doing, and we need to start following the money. We need to start following where this is coming from. And I did some little snooping around yesterday, and this proposal is being co-sponsored by the El Pomar Foundation, Ann Schutz Foundation, which, by the way, owns the Gazette and the Broadmoor Hotel. Downtown Development Authority. Those are the co-sponsors on this. And with that, the mayor would like to thank, and this is on his website, he would like to thank the community leaders like the Broadmoor. Isn't that the Ann Schutz Foundation? Okay. And the Chamber.
Who also owns the Gazette.
Who also owns the Gazette. The Chamber, which is now called the Regional Business Alliance, and the Olympic Committee. So again, we've got to start seeing this. 2 and 2 equal 4. And I don't care how someone spins it. 2 plus 1 will never equal 4 in my book. So I want to continue on because this is so important. And like I said, we did the research. We are doing the research for you. We want you to trust yet verify. Call in with your questions. And like I said, again, we have an article in the Common Sense newspaper, this issue, and I'm going to turn it over to Ann to talk about that.
Well, it explains in detail, this article explains in detail where the money comes from, who's putting the money up, how much it's going to cost us, and it's kind of scary. According to the City of Champions website, this growth would result in an additional $300 million in revenue from state sales taxes in the 30 years following the implementation and nearly $7 billion in net retail sales. Where are they getting this information?
Well, my question is, if it's going to bring in that much profit, then why aren't the private industry, these private developers doing it on their own?
Well, then this is a good question. If we're going to get that much money and they're guaranteeing it or saying, oh, yes, we're going to have that much money, I got an idea. Mayor Bach, why don't you invest? Why don't you take all of your private investments and you go ahead and gamble, but don't gamble with my money.
Yeah, and it is a gamble, and people have to understand it's not just a gamble with your money. It's a gamble for the next 30 years. This is how Detroit became Detroit. Let's be transparent, and that's something we definitely need to discuss is how this has not been transparent. So I don't know if you guys have seen that this whole plan's inception came about without much public input at all.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that later on in further segments about where the hearings are going to be taking place. It's happening to us here in the city of Colorado Springs. Our citizens should be 100% accessible to all those meetings, but I'm being told that they're being held in Denver.
Well, that gets into what's happening into the future. So the RTA board, I've called them and said, so are you going to have some sort of public hearing? So the public, which are the citizens of Colorado Springs, can have their input. And they said, yes, we will on December 4th, which is a Wednesday, at 9 a.m. in Denver, at our offices in Denver. And I said, that doesn't make sense. If you want the public's input, then you would have it in Colorado Springs on a weeknight. And they said, no, that would set a precedence that we would have to do that for every community that we come into.
Wow. Wow. Unbelievable.
One question I had also was, let me find it here. It has been a long-running problem in Colorado Springs because it's a conservative city. Where are we going with that?
Well, it's not about conservative or liberal. This is not about conservative and liberal. This is about the people versus the elites.
Absolutely. As we go into a break, I want you guys to go to commonsensenewsusa.com. That's commonsensenewsusa.com.
Nothing but a working man. He makes his living by the sweat of his brow and the calluses on his hands.
Breaking news from the Front Range and around the world. News Talk 1460, KZNT.
A fabulous Village 7 coffee location has reopened. The Copper Creek is back as Mountain Grounds Coffee House at 3315 West Carefree Circle. Mountain Grounds Coffee House features the aroma and comfort of European cafes. But it gets better. At Mountain Grounds Coffee House, the beans are locally roasted. The flavored syrups are all natural. And fruit flavorings are homemade, while the pastries are fresh daily from a local pastry and cake shop. How about a fresh vanilla, almond, or hazelnut latte, prepared with Umpire Estate Mountain Roasters beans? For atmosphere, Mountain Grounds Coffee House features free Wi-Fi and big band swing and track records played on a real record player. Feel free to bring your own vinyl. Mountain Grounds Coffee House is now open at 3315 West Carefree Circle. Fresh coffee, new ownership, a coffee experience. Mountain Grounds Coffee House.
Hey, Uncle Sam, put your name at the top of his list. And the Statue of Liberty started shaking her fist. And an eagle will fly, and it's gonna be.
And thanks for coming back to Common Sense Radio. I want to give a quick shout out to the Pikes Peak 912 Patriots. They have been out today on all kinds of street corners. I saw them and I was honking at them, and they're pushing back on this government. And I love them out there, and they're my brothers and sisters in liberty. And so I want to give a shout out to them. Now we're going to get back to the City for Champions. City for Champions. Okay, who's the champion? Kanda, can you clarify some stuff?
Well, first I want to say, since you brought up the 912 group and their protest, this is a national issue. This is a statewide issue. This is a local issue. It is no longer Democrat versus Republican. This is the ruling elite against the people.
Yes.
And it's very clear. When you look up at the Senate, the U.S. Senate, you've got McCain, McConnell, Graham. They're all Republicans, but they're going against Cruz, Rand Paul, Mike Lee. Those last ones, the newcomers, they actually believe in the American people to make this country strong, while the old guard still believes in the government making everything better. And I think if we look at the City for Champions, we're witnessing the very same thing.
Absolutely.
So that's why when I look around and I see these talented people and I think, man, why do politicians and the people in power sell out people? Why do they sell us out and sell us down the road and take our money and think they can do better than we can do it with our own hard-earned dollars? I think we know what we want better than they do, which is why I think they don't want to be transparent. I think they have kept this plan a secret because they know people know they could do better with their own money than the government can. So the first, when they first had the genesis of this plan, when it first came out, it was only divulged in elite circles. In fact, even our own city council, it was the old city council before the new one was elected in April.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The old city council heard about this behind closed doors in executive session. The mayor's attorney, the city attorney, as they call it, but I call it the mayor's attorney.
Okay, well, is his name Chris Melcher?
Yes.
Christopher Melcher.
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
His name comes up a lot.
Yes. He is the mayor's attorney, even though he's technically supposed to be the city attorney. He does not represent the citizens of this city. He represents the mayor. He serves at the pleasure of the mayor, so we all know he has to what? Pleasure the mayor. So he has proven this time and time again. So this is very disturbing to me as a citizen who watches this. One of the things he did was he told the previous council that they had to meet in executive session to discuss the City for Champions proposal. I view that as very unethical because it's supposed to be the executive session is only for personnel, contracts, and any kind of lawsuits. Now, could this be stretched to be a contract? Sure, it could, but why? Why the secrecy?
Well, I know it's affecting tax dollars. It's affecting taxpayers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why is this behind closed doors? And I'll tell you, every single city council member that was up for re-election was replaced in April. So that's a sign of no confidence in my book.
Yes.
So the new council was never briefed on this. They were never asked about this. Now there are a couple of proponents on city council right now, and they did want to push forth a letter that would show that there was confidence in the City for Champions, but they couldn't get it signed, so they just dropped it. So our current council a majority is not in favor of it. The county commissioners here in El Paso County, they went behind closed doors in executive session to sign a letter that said they supported the City for Champions. All 5 of them.
Wow.
Yes.
All 5 county commissioners.
Yes, all 5 of them.
Amy Lathan, Sally Clark, Peggy Littleton, Daryl Glenn, and Dennis Heisey.
That's right.
Okay.
All of them. Then the mayor has stated when asked, why aren't you making this transparent to the public? Well, we had to keep the details of this project quiet or other communities would steal this idea. Do other cities have an Air Force Academy? Do they have an Olympic training center?
Yeah, good point.
Do they have the Sky Sox? The last time I checked, we are the only ones with those things. UCCS, we're the only ones with it.
Right.
How is this going to be taken from us?
Wow, I can't believe it. Yeah, because, how many Air Force Academies are there?
If that's the logic we are using for this old guard to try to sell us down the stream, which is really what we're doing, I just don't think, Lana or Ann, we should be beholden to the state. I don't understand why we're saying, oh, we need to care about what other cities are doing, or that ultimately deferring to other parts of the state is actually going to help our economy. How is that true?
Right.
Well, one of the things I was reading also in this blip on in the Colorado College Catalyst article, Colorado College professional Bob Lovey mentioned that it has been in the past. He believes the outwardly conservative nature of Colorado Springs City Council has been detrimental to the city's ability to locate both state and national funding for local projects. It has been a long-running problem in Colorado Springs because it is such a conservative city. Talks about reducing government and reducing taxes have led to missed opportunities in state funding, he mentioned. He said since voters approved the city's transition from the old councilor-manager form of government to the strong mayor format in 2010, the city government has been more active in applying for state-sponsored funding to finance city expenditures. Though no one is outwardly opposed to the proposal's path to the city's future, he says, nobody's really opposed to it.
Well, that's ridiculous. First of all, this state funding, I'm sorry, that's our money. That's taxpayers' money. Stop saying it's state funding.
Right.
It is our money they're stealing from us, and Tabor guarantees it's supposed to go back into our pocketbooks.
Yes.
But instead, we're going to siphon it off into these projects that the elites think are best for us.
And Tabor, just to correct really quick, just to tell our listeners what Tabor is the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. So,
and this just shows no faith in free markets by the mayor or this Colorado College professor, and it shows no faith in the citizens of Colorado Springs. And it just shows all the faith in government, as if government can do everything. I just have to ask, is this a mayor that wants limited government? Or is this a mayor that wants to scratch his friend's back?
Exactly. I know. I don't know why the government will never understand that it's for the private sector. The private sector is what creates jobs, not the government. Absolutely. And people don't understand, and most politicians don't understand. They keep thinking that government is the answer, and government is not the answer. We just saw that with the government shutdown. 800,000 non-essential employees. I'm sorry, if they're called non-essential, that's a problem. So we'll be back after we go to a break, and we'll keep talking about City for Champions.
They come to America today.
All right, we are back at Common Sense Radio, and I want to just thank, again, my amazing massage therapist, and that is Wendy Havens. Wendy owns Havens and Sanctity, which is a day spa over on Arendale Drive, and her phone number is 719-310-8285. If you haven't had a facial in a while or a relaxing hot stone massage, Wendy is your girl. I love her. And Wendy, this is a shout out to you, sweetheart. Thank you for everything that you do for keeping my sanity. I'd also like to also say thanks to another sponsor we have, Front Range Fireplace and Stove. Go see them down there on Winters Drive. They're right there off of North Nevada, across from the dog park, and southwest corner of Nevada and Winters. Best place to get your fireplaces, your stoves. Fall is coming. Let's burn those fires. So I just want to give a shout out to them as well. We're talking about the City for Champions proposal. $218 million, moving the Sky Sox Stadium, opening an event center to compete against the World Arena, a privately owned World Arena. Okay, so Kanda, what can people do to help get involved and to fight back?
Well, before we go there, you were mentioning your sponsors, and it was interesting to me because that is capitalism. That is a good thing. It's exchanging value for value. They value you enough that they want to pay for marketing. You value them enough to take it on. It's value for value. And oftentimes people mix up capitalism with cronyism. Michael Moore did a documentary years ago called Capitalism, a Love Story. And he's really speaking to cronyism, not capitalism. And I bring this up because many people, rightfully so, confuse the two. And since so many Republicans state that they believe in free markets, but the next instant they turn around, stymie free markets, and in lieu of the good old boys coming together in smoke-filled rooms, I have to clarify. This is not capitalism. This is not capitalism that would create this City for Champions. This is cronyism. This is I scratch your back, you scratch mine. And we have to understand that because that is why it's no longer Republican versus Democrat, because people aren't sticking with any principles that they believe in. They don't care about the people.
And let's be clear, though, Kanda, let's be clear. City Council and the mayor's office are all nonpartisan. These are nonpartisan office seats. So what I wanted to quickly say is, why the interest in downtown? Was it bad investments? Was it developers' bad investments downtown and they can't sell their buildings or they can't lease them? And all of a sudden we need to revamp downtown so that they'll get some money back? Could it be something like that?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because, you have to question these things. I've questioned those things. I have seen the article in your guys' newspaper. It addresses some of those issues. I would say even if we gave these people the benefit of the doubt that want to push this through, they allege that's going to improve our economy. They think somehow this vision is going to improve our economy. But Lana, this is central planning. We have seen central planning does not work. It never has worked. It's always failed. Why do we think this is going to be any different? I just don't get it.
Well, you said that the article that you read that was in the Common Sense News, and tell us about Common Sense News USA.
We're excited. We just came out with our latest issue this week, and we're already running low on copies. People have got to get their subscriptions in because, like I say, they hit the racks and they are gone. And it has been so exciting for us to watch. We have a bunch of excellent articles, just like the one City of Champions, why it's a loser. Explains in detail why this is a bad idea for our city and really for our state, because it does set a precedent. You guys can read Common Sense News online. You can pick it up at the on racks in 14 counties all over the state. We are getting tons of subscriptions, but that is really your best way of getting the paper delivered to your mailbox. That's the first group that we send out before anything else gets distributed. We have some awesome, really exciting writers. And they're coming out of the woodwork. People are getting involved and they want to write and they want to research and understand all of the issues in Colorado. We have a great article by Tamara Farah, and it's about how to turn your angst into action. How can you be upset about something and instead of just stifling it or talking it over at the grocery store, do something. How to do it. She tells exactly how to do that. Another one is, are you getting snowed by the impression of digital privacy? We think that the NSA is the one snooping in our stuff, but Jacqueline Cartier explains how we're doing it to ourselves. Another one, a really excellent article by our attorney, Tim Preby. He wrote about what the Make My Day law really means. You know, we think we know based on, Clint Eastwood movies or, what we see on social media. But he dissects exactly what that law means, and that helps us protect ourselves when we are concealed carrying and we're protecting our families. Another one is really important to my county. It's Fremont County. We're one of the hardest hit counties budget-wise. And Debbie Bell, our commissioner, talks about what the reality of working in the Fremont County Sheriff's Department really looks like. I personally know how this budget looks, and there is no more money. The deputies must purchase their own uniforms and their vehicles break down. There was an issue last week where our SWAT team was called to a domestic violence situation. They got to the domestic violence situation. They settled everything down, and their truck broke on its way back. How ridiculous is that? But we don't have the money to fix that stuff. How embarrassing is it for our SWAT team to be sitting on the side of the road?
Thanks. Common Sense News USA is a newspaper that's going to be reaching every county here in Colorado eventually. We're working on it. We're in all the King Supers. We're in 1,500 locations on racks. I am telling you guys, if you want the truth in the media, you need to pick up Common Sense News USA.
You mentioned an article, turning your angst into action. And I think when we come back, we definitely need to go into details of how to turn our angst into action, because I know that many of you listening feel probably a lot like we do here in this room right now. Very frustrated. You feel like you have no power as an individual to affect change. And we can understand how you feel. Elected officials, they talk down to us. They try to bully us. They seem so well connected, and you can think, how is my little input going to actually improve anything? Well, I can tell you, I have seen single individuals have amazing impact on this state. I mean, we can all see it. Just look at the recalls. It was initiated, whether the press wants to admit it or not, by a few guys. They were fed up with this top-down thinking. And so when we come back, I want to give you details. How can you affect change with the City for Champions? And I will tell you right now that the last 3 years have seen an upsurge of politicians and bureaucrats being questioned by who? You, the citizens. So that is what's going to bring back government to the people and not let the old guard run our lives.
That's exactly right. What Kanda just talked about was what we were talking about with the Pikes Peak Patriots. They're fighting for no on 66. You guys got your ballots in the mail. Vote no on 66. It is detrimental to our state. And thanks to the Pikes Peak Patriots that were out on street corners today, and they were honking and waving their signs. It's doing it the old-fashioned way.
Baby, everything is all right.
And we are back to Common Sense Radio. You know what? This has been a lot of information this last hour, and I wanted to talk to you about that. City for Champions. Kanda, I want to thank you so much. Your research is unbelievable. You're helping everyday mom and dad that don't have time to go sit at city council all day long and do what you're doing. You're a homeschool mom, you're a wife, you're a daughter. You have so much responsibility, but yet you make time to do this because it is so important. So can you give us a quick recap again on City for Champions?
Well, thank you so much, Lana. I really appreciate that. There are very few thank yous in public service when you're really serving the public. So I want to encourage all you listeners to take a moment of your time to email the RTA board.